In the twilight of an autumn evening, the forest whispered ancient secrets as dusk settled over a sprawling American wilderness bordering a vibrant modern city. Ciora, a young woman with an unassuming past and eyes that held the melancholy of long-lost memories, found herself ensnared by fate on a night that would forever alter her destiny. She had always cherished her quiet life, a tapestry of gentle routines and hidden dreams, until that fateful moment when everything was irrevocably changed. It began when the forest's deep hues shifted from amber to indigo, and shadows lengthened into long, silent figures. Ciora, lost in thought while walking along a seldom-trodden path near the edge of a mysterious wood, felt an inexplicable pull, a magnetic call that resonated with the pulse of the ancient trees. The sensation was both alluring and ominous, like the prelude to an unwritten story. Her heart pounded with trepidation, each beat echoing memories of past losses and unanswered questions. In the distance, the rumble of powerful paws against the soft earth signified the arrival of a presence that would alter the very fabric of her life. Dren, the formidable alpha of a revered pack, emerged from the darkness with an aura of regality and danger intertwined. His eyes, an intense stormy blue, held centuries of wisdom, sorrow, and an unyielding resolve. With every stride, he carried the weight of an ancient destiny, a destiny that, unbeknownst to Ciora, was bound to hers by an age-old prophecy. "Ciora!" Dren's deep, resonant voice cut through the silence, both commanding and tender. "I have come for you." His declaration sent shivers down her spine. Conflicted and defiant, she instinctively stepped back, her instincts clashing with the inexplicable allure that his presence evoked. Before she could muster a response, her world was upended as Dren, with a swift yet strangely gentle motion, swept her into the night. The rush of cold air and the forest's echoing murmurs surrounded them. Ciora's mind raced with questions. Who was this man? Why did he claim her as his mate with such unwavering certainty? And what dark secret lay beneath his fierce exterior? In the ensuing moments, the narrative of their lives interwove with the ferocity of the wild. As they raced through the forest, pursued by unknown assailants, each heartbeat brought them closer to the raw, unvarnished truth of their intertwined fates. Ciora's inner monologue churned with memories of a childhood filled with whispered legends of shifters and forbidden love, a past that had always seemed like myth until now. The wind carried the scent of pine and danger, mingling with the palpable tension that surged between her and Dren. Their flight led them from the shadowed wilderness into the neon glow of a nearby city, a stark contrast where ancient mysticism clashed with modern life. Urban streets buzzed with energy, but for Ciora, every step was haunted by the spectral presence of her past and the looming uncertainty of what lay ahead. Amid the frenetic pulse of city life, she became increasingly aware that she was not merely a pawn in a supernatural game, but a key to unraveling family secrets that had long been shrouded in mystery. Inside a secluded safe house on the outskirts of the city, Dren's eyes softened as he observed Ciora's internal torment. "You're not just a captive," he murmured, his tone simultaneously gentle and filled with an unspoken promise. "You are the one who holds the power to free us both from the chains of our past." His words, wrapped in the mystery of prophecy and regret, resonated with her despite her initial resistance. She recalled fragments of her mother's warnings, stories of an ancient curse that bound two souls in a relentless struggle between darkness and redemption. Over the course of that fraught night, the safe house became a silent witness to confessions and confrontations. Ciora's introspective reflections revealed layers of vulnerability and courage. "I've spent my life hiding," she admitted, in a trembling whisper as she gazed into a mirror that reflected not just her image, but the scars of her history. Every moment of solitude was a preparation for the inevitable moment when I'd have to face my destiny. Her confession was a catalyst, drawing Dren closer with an intensity that transcended mere physical attraction. As the hours passed, the conversation turned to the enigma of their connection. Dren recounted cryptic prophecies passed down through generations of his kind, tales of a stolen mate whose heart was imprisoned by unseen forces. "I never believed in fate," he confessed, his voice thick with the weight of regret. "Until I saw you, Ciora. It was as if every piece of my shattered past was searching for the missing part that only you could restore." His eyes glistened with both determination and the sorrow of a life burdened by secrets, leaving Siora to wonder whether her own destiny was as much a burden as it was a salvation. Outside, the night deepened, and the city's skyline glimmered against the starry backdrop. In the quiet moments between adrenaline-fueled chases and the fervor of their newfound connection, Siora and Dren's dialogue became a dance of mutual revelations. "Your eyes hold a storm of memories," she observed softly, her tone equal parts admiration and melancholy. "They tell a story of battles fought, losses endured, and a hope that burns despite it all." Dren's response was both a pledge and a sorrowful acknowledgement. "And yours, Siora, are the windows to a soul that has long been captive to a destiny neither of us chose. Yet, in the darkest of nights there is a spark, a promise of redemption waiting to ignite." As dawn began to creep over the horizon, casting a pale glow on the remnants of their chaotic escape, the safe house fell into a temporary stillness. The tension of the night lingered like a charged current in the air. Siora's thoughts churned with questions that demanded answers. Who were the shadowy figures chasing them? And what did they truly want? Was her abduction an act of cruelty or a desperate bid to unite two broken souls? And what of the prophecy that hinted at a catastrophic merging of past and future, love and betrayal? The narrative of their tumultuous journey was far from linear. Every whispered secret and half-spoken word revealed fissures in the foundation of their worlds, a world where family legacies, bitter betrayals, and the remnants of ancient magic collided in unexpected ways. Siora recalled fleeting images from her childhood, memories of a grandmother whose tales of redemption were steeped in sorrow and mystery. These recollections, fragmented and elusive, now formed a mosaic that seemed to hint at a deeper connection between her family and Dren's pack. Outside, the city's early morning bustle began to stir, juxtaposing the inner sanctum of revelations with the relentless pace of modern life. In a brief moment of vulnerability, Dren admitted, "I have long carried the weight of choices I made in a past life, a past where betrayal tore through our ranks and left us scarred beyond repair. I see in you the chance for a new beginning, but also the risk of repeating ancient mistakes." His confession was met with silence from Siora, who struggled to reconcile the image of a ruthless alpha with the tender, repentant man who now stood before her. Her mind raced, weighing the dangers of yielding to such a force against the undeniable pull of something inexplicably familiar and healing. In that interplay of light and shadow, past and future, the first sparks of transformation began to kindle within Siora. Her internal monologue shifted from fear to cautious acceptance. The realization that her life, once defined by isolation and survival, might now serve a higher purpose, stirred a sense of defiance against the chains of her own history. Perhaps, she thought, this is not merely an abduction, but an awakening, a chance to confront the darkness that has long haunted both our souls. Yet, as the promise of a new beginning flickered on the horizon, the specter of uncertainty loomed large. Unbeknownst to either of them, forces far more sinister than mere rival packs or desperate bounty hunters were at work. Hidden alliances, long-standing family feuds, and the treacherous undercurrents of forbidden magic conspired to shape a destiny where every choice carried a weight of irreversible consequence. The revelation of these clandestine plots promised to challenge everything Siora and Dren believed about loyalty, love, and the very nature of fate. In the waning moments of the night, as the safe house's walls seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of a secret world, Siora found herself drawn into an emotional labyrinth. Her inner voice, tender yet resolute, whispered a quiet vow to uncover the truth behind the prophecy, to break the chains that bound their hearts, and to fight for a future where redemption was more than just a fleeting hope. The murmurs of the past and the clangor of impending conflict converged, setting the stage for a dramatic clash of wills, a battle not only for survival, but for the soul of a love that defied the very limits of destiny. As the first rays of dawn illuminated the horizon and the echo of a promise reverberated in the cool morning air, the stage was set for the trials to come. The revelations of the night lingered like a fragile promise in the silence, leaving Siora and Dren poised on the brink of a journey that would test the boundaries of trust, challenge the strength of their convictions, and ultimately reveal a truth more staggering than either had ever imagined. The morning light filtered weakly through drawn curtains, casting delicate shadows on the worn wooden floor of the safe house. Still reeling from the revelations of the previous night, Ciora sat in a quiet corner, her thoughts a tangled web of uncertainty and yearning. The fragile silence was punctured only by the soft murmurs of the city awakening outside, a world where secrets and destinies intertwined in the most unexpected ways. Dren, ever vigilant, observed Ciora's introspection from the doorway. His demeanor had shifted subtly in the pale light. The hardened warrior now revealed cracks of vulnerability beneath his fierce exterior. "We must decide our next move," he said gently, his voice a low rumble that mingled with the ambient sounds of early urban life. His eyes, reflecting both determination and remorse, searched hers for the answer that lay buried within. Ciora's gaze drifted toward the window, where the urban skyline emerged in a hazy silhouette against the burgeoning day. "There is a force behind all of this," she whispered almost to herself. "Something far more intricate than a mere bounty hunt or a simple act of abduction. I can feel it pulsing within my veins, a connection to a past I never wished to explore." Her voice, though soft, carried a resolute tone that belied her inner turmoil. Across the room, a faded photograph lay on a small table, its edges worn and fragile. It depicted a smiling woman whose eyes held a haunting familiarity. A woman whose life had been shrouded in mystery and unspoken sacrifice. For Ciora, the image stirred a torrent of memories, stories of her grandmother, whispered legends of redemption, and the inescapable pull of an ancestral duty that transcended time itself. Dren moved closer, his presence both a comfort and a stark reminder of the perilous path they now trod. "I, too, am haunted by memories," he confessed, stepping beside her. "My past is riddled with mistakes, betrayals, and choices that I wish I could rewrite. But in you, I see the possibility of forging a future that might atone for those sins." His words, laden with emotion and the weight of centuries-old prophecies, created a bridge between their disparate worlds. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted by a distant crash, an ominous sound that resonated through the thin walls of the safe house. Instantly alert, both Ciora and Dren exchanged wary glances. In the dim light of early morning, shadows seemed to dance with hidden intent. "We're not alone," Dren murmured, his hand instinctively moving to the pendant that hung around his neck, a relic said to hold ancient protective magic. The abrupt disturbance triggered memories of the previous night's harrowing escape. Ciora's mind raced, grappling with the possibility that the figures chasing them were still lurking nearby, determined to reclaim what had been taken, or to silence the voices of ancient prophecies. "We must leave," she declared, rising swiftly. "Every moment we linger increases the risk that these secrets will be discovered by those who wish to harness them for their own dark purposes." Her determination resonated with the fire, of rebellion against a destiny she never chose. Dren nodded, his expression hardening into that of a seasoned warrior ready for battle. "We move at once. The city is both our sanctuary and our trap," he noted, his tone firm yet tinged with a palpable sadness. "We must seek allies, those who understand that our fates are entwined with a legacy older than time. Somewhere in these urban labyrinths, there are whispers of a clandestine network, keepers of truths long buried beneath layers of betrayal and regret." The mention of allies stirred in Ciora a flicker of cautious hope, a notion that redemption might be attainable if they dared to trust the unseen guardians of ancient lore. Before they could pack their meager belongings and leave, a knock sounded at the door, a rhythmic, deliberate sound that set their hearts pounding in unison. Dren exchanged a quick glance with Ciora, his eyes darkening with concern. "Stay back," he cautioned, moving to the door with the measured precision of someone who had faced countless ambushes. His hand rested on the worn handle as he peered through the peephole. On the other side stood a figure draped in a long coat, the collar turned up against the chill. The stranger's eyes, sharp and calculating, flickered with a mix of caution and determination. "I come with a warning," the figure said, voice hushed yet urgent. "Your actions have stirred forces that cannot be contained by simple defiance. There is a faction," hidden in plain sight, whose interests are far more sinister than you can imagine. The cryptic message sent ripples of anxiety through the room, echoing the dread that had haunted Ciora since the previous night's revelations. With the door unlocked, Dren motioned for the visitor to enter. The newcomer's presence exuded an air of mystery, as if the weight of countless secrets clung to every step. "I am Mara," the stranger introduced, her tone both enigmatic and sincere. "I have watched you, and I know that your journey is not merely one of survival, but a quest for truth that could reshape the balance between our worlds." Her eyes, dark and intense, met Ciora's with an unspoken plea for understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the sacrifices that lay ahead. Mara explained that she belonged to an ancient order dedicated to safeguarding the hidden histories of both shifters and humans. "There exists a conspiracy woven through generations, a betrayal that tore apart families and left scars on the very fabric of our society," she said, her words measured and grave. "Your arrival, Ciora, was not an accident. The prophecy foretold of a mate who would unlock the secrets of redemption, but at a cost that must be reckoned with." Her words resonated with a bitter familiarity, evoking memories of forgotten lore and the painful price of redemption. As Mara spoke, the room filled with a palpable energy, a blend of hope and impending doom. Ciora listened intently, her mind awash with conflicting emotions. Could it be that her life had been a series of orchestrated coincidences designed to bring her to this pivotal moment? Dren too felt the stirrings of fate as Mara's revelations painted a picture of a destiny fraught with danger, betrayal, and the promise of salvation. "Our paths were chosen long before we even knew of them," Dren remarked quietly, his voice a blend of awe and resignation. "And now we must decide whether to embrace this fate or fight against it, even if it means sacrificing everything we hold dear." The discussion soon turned to strategy. Mara revealed that a secret enclave existed within the urban sprawl, a network of sanctuaries hidden in plain sight, where those with ancient bloodlines and sacred legacies gathered to protect the balance of power. "In the depths of the city, beneath the veneer of modernity, lies a labyrinth of safe havens," she explained. "There, you may find the allies needed to confront those who seek to exploit your bond for their own gain." Her eyes flickered with a mixture of defiance and hope, a spark that kindled a renewed determination within Ciora. But even as plans were laid and alliances considered, the threat from unseen adversaries loomed large. A sudden commotion outside shattered the fragile calm. Footsteps echoed in the corridor and muffled voices carried a tone of menace. Mara's expression darkened as she whispered, "They are coming. The Hunters, agents of a shadow organization that thrives on chaos and destruction. They will stop at nothing to capture what they believe is the key to an ancient power." The gravity of her words hit Ciora like a tidal wave, reinforcing the stark reality that her journey was no mere quest for love, but a battle for the very soul of her lineage and the salvation of an entire legacy. In a flurry of decisive action, Dren and Mara coordinated a swift plan to secure an exit route. The trio moved with practiced precision through narrow hallways and hidden passages, each step measured against the risk of being ambushed. Ciora's heart pounded as she navigated the maze-like corridors of the safe house, her thoughts a tumultuous blend of fear, hope, and the undeniable pull of destiny. Along the way, fragmented memories of her childhood intermingled with visions of a future wrought with both peril and promise, images of a legacy that could either shatter or transform her very being. In a small, dimly lit room filled with relics and faded manuscripts, Ciora discovered a journal bound in worn leather, a relic passed down through generations. The delicate handwriting revealed secrets of forbidden alliances and tragic betrayals, chronicling a time when the balance between light and darkness teetered on the edge of oblivion. As she pored over the entries, her eyes widened with realization. The journal hinted at a hidden truth, that the power which now threatened to consume her and Dren was intricately linked to her family's past, a legacy of sacrifice and resilience that had been kept under lock and key for centuries. "This is my inheritance," she murmured, almost in disbelief, "the key to our redemption, and perhaps our ultimate undoing." Her voice trembled with a mix of fear and newfound determination, signaling a resolve to confront the dark truths of her lineage head-on. Meanwhile, Dren and Mara led a contingent of allies through secret underground passageways beneath the city. Their journey was fraught with peril as the distant sound of pursuing footsteps grew louder, and the air itself seemed charged with the imminence of conflict. Dren's mind raced with memories of past battles and the losses that had scarred his soul. In the midst of chaos, he recalled the words of a mentor long ago. Sometimes the greatest battles are fought within, where every choice carries the weight of fate. His inner monologue, filled with regret and longing, echoed the sentiment that their struggle was as much about redeeming their own souls as it was about averting an ancient calamity. Outside, the urban labyrinth pulsed with life. Neon signs flickered, streets teemed with unsuspecting citizens, and the relentless march of time continued unabated. Yet beneath the surface of everyday hustle, a hidden war was unfolding, a war that pitted the old magic against modern ambition. Every corner, every shadow, held the promise of betrayal and the chance for redemption. Siora, clutching the journal tightly, felt a spark of hope ignite within her. I must understand these secrets, no matter the cost, she resolved silently. For if I am to break the chains that bind us, I must first embrace the truth of who I am and where I come from. The corridors of the safe house reverberated with the urgency of footsteps and whispered instructions. Mara's steady leadership and Dren's unwavering resolve fused into a force that defied the encroaching darkness. Together, they forged ahead, their shared purpose a beacon of light in a world overrun by shadow. The journey had become a race, against time, a desperate bid to uncover hidden allies, decode the mysteries of ancient texts, and confront the treacherous factions that sought to exploit the magic woven into Siora's blood. In the midst of this turbulent escape, moments of tender dialogue punctuated the tension. I'm scared, Dren, Siora admitted in a quiet corner of the underground passage, her voice trembling with raw honesty. Not just for myself, but for the future we might build if we can overcome these demons. Dren reached out, his hand, gentle yet firm as he grasped hers. Fear is the precursor to change, he replied softly. It is through facing our deepest fears that we find the courage to reclaim our destiny. Together we can shatter these chains and forge a future where our past no longer dictates our fate. His words, imbued with both sorrow and hope, echoed in the dimly lit passageway like a promise, a vow to protect not only each other but the legacy that had brought them together. As the underground labyrinth began to open into a sprawling network of hidden corridors and secret rooms, the intensity of their mission crystallized into a singular purpose. Every decision carried the burden of ancient prophecies and the promise of a love that defied the boundaries of mortal limitations. With each step, Siora and Dren inched closer to a truth that had been buried for generations, a truth that, once revealed, would shatter the illusions of betrayal and illuminate the path to redemption. In the final moments before they reached the rendezvous point with their newfound allies, the tension reached a fever pitch. The air grew thick with anticipation, and the distant echoes of their pursuers faded into an ominous silence. In that suspended moment, as the weight of destiny hung heavily over them, Siora took a deep breath and resolved to confront the mysteries of her past, no matter how harrowing the journey might be. The secrets etched in the faded journal, the whispered prophecies of ancient orders, and the unyielding determination of Dren melded into a single, unbreakable resolve. The future, though shrouded in uncertainty, beckoned with the promise of redemption and the hope of a love that could rewrite the very fabric of fate. With hearts alight with a newfound purpose and minds sharpened by the trials of the past, they stepped into the unknown corridors of destiny, leaving behind the fleeting safety of the familiar. Each footfall echoed like a heartbeat, a silent testament to the fact that even in the face of relentless peril, hope could be kindled anew. And as the labyrinth of secrets and shadows awaited their next move, the promise of a revelation, both haunting and liberating, shimmered on the horizon. A revelation that would either bind them to an inescapable legacy or shatter the chains that had held them captive for far too long. In the lingering glow of dusk, Siora's pulse quickened as the underground labyrinth gave way to a vast, abandoned warehouse on the fringes of the city. The cool air of the night wrapped around them, mixing with the adrenaline of their recent escape and the weight of the secrets they carried. Every step echoed in the silence, a constant reminder of the fragile boundary between survival and surrender. Here, in the dim light of flickering industrial lamps, the convergence of ancient magic and modern danger became undeniably real. Dren led the way with unwavering determination, his senses acutely attuned to every sound and shadow. The rhythmic tapping of his boots on cracked concrete blended with the distant hum of the urban night, a sound that now carried a foreboding undertone. Siora followed closely, clutching the worn journal to her chest. Its pages whispered promises of truths hidden in plain sight, and of a lineage steeped in both glory and despair. Every entry, every faded note, was a key to understanding the legacy that entwined her fate with that of the shifters. Inside the cavernous space, the trio reconvened with a small band of allies gathered from diverse walks of life, humans who possessed a sliver of ancient insight, and shifters whose eyes glowed with the embers of old magic. Among them was Elijah, a reserved but perceptive historian with a penchant for deciphering cryptic texts, and Cassandra, a spirited young woman whose defiant gaze belied her tender heart and hidden resilience. Their faces, illuminated by the sporadic light, revealed lines of worry etched by years of living on the edge of a world that refused to yield its secrets easily. As the group gathered around a makeshift table littered with maps, relics, and scattered manuscripts, Elijah spoke with measured urgency. "We are on the precipice of uncovering something monumental," he declared. "The journal hints at an artifact, an ancient medallion believed to be the linchpin of the prophecy. It is said that this medallion can either bind us to our ancestral chains or free us from them forever." His words, heavy with the promise of both hope and peril, sent ripples of excitement and dread through the assembly. Cassandra, her eyes aflame with a mixture of determination and defiance, interjected, "And where is this medallion now? Hidden in the ruins of a long-forgotten temple, or tucked away in the heart of the city's most dangerous quarter?" Her question hung in the air, its intensity matched only by the gravity of the situation. Siora, feeling the pull of the past more than ever, added softly, "I believe it lies closer than we think, entwined with the very secrets of my family. The clues in this journal point to a location that resonates with the energy of those who have suffered, loved, and lost through the ages." Dren's gaze shifted between Siora and the others, the conflict in his eyes unmistakable. "We have little time," he said firmly. "The hunters and their shadowy benefactors are closing in. Their intent is to capture the medallion for reasons that we cannot yet fathom, using it to harness an ancient power that could upset the balance between our worlds." His voice was a blend of urgency and melancholy, a warrior burdened by the weight of past transgressions and the relentless march of fate. With the plan taking shape, the group set off on a journey that would lead them through forgotten tunnels, over abandoned bridges, and into the heart of a district where modernity brushed against relics of the past. Every street corner, every abandoned building became a potential repository of clues or a trap laid by their relentless pursuers. The city, with its vibrant neon lights and hidden corners, was a maze in itself, a labyrinth where the echoes of ancient secrets whispered among the modern cacophony. In one such narrow alleyway, Siora found herself alone with Elijah. The historian's eyes shone with an almost otherworldly fervor as he examined a faded inscription on a crumbling wall. "This language," he mused, tracing the worn characters with a trembling finger, "speaks of a covenant between two bloodlines, a promise of unity and sacrifice. Your family's legacy is interwoven with this oath, Siora." His words resonated deeply within her, stirring emotions that had long lain dormant beneath layers of guarded indifference. She recalled childhood moments when her grandmother would recount mysterious tales of honor, betrayal, and redemption. Stories that now seemed less like myth and more like a prelude to the destiny that awaited her. As they moved further into the labyrinthine maze of the city, Cassandra's laughter and resilience provided a brief respite from the omnipresent tension. "I never imagined that the night would lead me to unravel secrets hidden in plain sight," she remarked, her tone both defiant and hopeful. "Maybe it's time we embrace the unknown rather than fear it." Her words, light yet laden with determination, lifted the spirits of those around her, even as the threat of the hunters loomed. Ever closer. The night deepened, and the urban sprawl transformed under the cloak of darkness. Shadows lengthened, and the once familiar streets became unpredictable terrains where danger lurked behind every corner. Dren's leadership shone brightest in these moments. His every step was a calculated risk, driven by a profound sense of duty to protect Ciora and the legacy they fought to preserve. His thoughts wandered to the prophecy, a cryptic verse that spoke of a stolen mate whose heart was bound by destiny, a heart that once freed could either redeem a legacy or condemn it to eternal despair. Their journey took an unexpected turn when they reached a forgotten park, its once lush foliage now overgrown with ivy and memories of happier days. In the center stood a marble fountain, its surface weathered by time yet still emanating a quiet dignity. Here, beneath the soft glow of street lamps, the group paused to regroup and reflect on the clues gathered thus far. Ciora, standing before the fountain, felt a profound connection to the place, a link between her family's past and the present struggle. "This park," she murmured almost to herself, "was once a haven for those who believed in redemption. Perhaps it holds the key to deciphering the final clue." Her voice was steady, determined, and filled with a longing to unlock the mysteries that had defined her life. Dren's hand found hers in that moment, their connection reaffirmed in the quiet companionship of shared purpose. "We are not defined by the chains of our past," he whispered, his tone soft yet resolute. "Every step we take, every secret we unveil, is a step toward reclaiming our destiny." His words, a promise of both strength and vulnerability, resonated with the silent conviction that had carried them through countless trials. The past might have been a labyrinth of betrayals and broken promises, but the future was theirs to shape, if only they had the courage to seize it. As the night waned into the early blush of dawn, an unexpected visitor emerged from the shadows. A tall figure, cloaked in a dark overcoat, approached with a quiet grace that belied the urgency of the situation. The newcomer's eyes, sharp and discerning, scanned the group before settling on Ciora. "I have been watching your journey," the stranger said, voice calm, yet laden with hidden meaning. "There is more at stake than you realize. The medallion you seek is not merely an artifact, it is the embodiment of an ancient promise, one that demands both sacrifice and redemption." His words, delivered with the precision of someone who had navigated the treacherous interplay of fate and destiny, sent a shiver down Ciora's spine. Before anyone could question the stranger's origins, Cassandra stepped forward. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice echoing off the stone walls. "And what do you know about our path?" The tension in the air thickened, the silence stretching as the stranger paused, as if weighing the trust he could afford in that precarious moment. "I am known as Orion," he replied, his tone measured and sincere. "I have long guarded the secrets of the medallion and the prophecy. My allegiance is not with any faction, but with the truth that binds us all." His gaze locked with Ciora's, conveying a depth of understanding that was both unsettling and comforting. "The medallion's power can either bring salvation or unleash chaos. You must be prepared for the choices that lie ahead." Orion's revelation cast a new light on their mission, intensifying the stakes of their quest. The medallion was no longer a mere artifact to be found. It was a symbol of the eternal struggle between destiny and free will. Each member of the group felt the gravity of this truth, their hearts steeled for the challenges that would test their resolve. Ciora, now more determined than ever, resolved to unearth every secret that lay hidden within the journal and within herself. The threads of fate, interwoven with the stories of love, betrayal, and redemption, beckoned her forward into a future fraught with both peril and promise. With renewed determination, the group retraced their steps toward a long-abandoned chapel, rumored to be a sanctuary for those seeking solace in the divine mysteries of the past. The structure, with its cracked stained glass windows and ivy-choked stone walls, exuded an aura of melancholy and sacred resilience. Within its confines, they hoped to find further clues, cryptic symbols carved into the pews, inscriptions on weathered walls that spoke of ancient oaths and eternal bonds. As they entered the chapel, the silence was almost tangible, punctuated only by the soft rustle of leaves carried in by a gentle breeze. Inside, The dim light revealed a series of intricate murals depicting celestial battles and mortal sacrifices, a visual chronicle of humanity's eternal dance with destiny. Siora's eyes were drawn to one particular mural, a depiction of a woman, cloaked in both sorrow and defiance, reaching out toward a luminous orb that seemed to embody hope. "This must be the medallion," she whispered, her voice reverent, "or at least a representation of its power, a force capable of both healing and destruction." Her words resonated through the sacred space, echoing off ancient stone and stirring memories of long-forgotten promises. Dren stepped closer, his presence a steadfast anchor in the sea of uncertainty. "The path ahead is riddled with choices that will test the very core of who we are," he said, his tone both somber and resolute. "But remember, every trial, every betrayal, is but a step toward reclaiming the light that once defined us." His words, imbued with a quiet strength, offered solace amidst the looming threat of chaos. The chapel, a silent witness to countless secrets and unspoken vows, became a crucible where the fates of its seekers were inexorably intertwined. In that sacred silence, as the first hints of dawn crept through shattered windows, Siora felt a profound shift within herself. The layers of fear and uncertainty that had defined her existence began to peel away, revealing a resilience forged in the crucible of loss and longing. "I must embrace who I am," she murmured, her eyes glistening with both determination and the fragile hope of rebirth. "The secrets of my past are not chains that bind me, but keys to unlocking a future where redemption is possible." Her declaration, soft yet firm, was a turning point. A moment when the weight of generations gave way to the promise of self-discovery and the courage to face the future head-on. As the group gathered their resolve and prepared to leave the EI chapel, Orion's parting words echoed in their minds. "The medallion's true power lies not in its form, but in the choices you make. Redemption is forged in the crucible of sacrifice. Only through embracing your past can you truly shape your destiny." His voice, calm and unwavering, left a lingering imprint on their hearts, a reminder that the journey toward redemption was as much about inner transformation as it was about external battles. Outside, the city began to stir with the tentative hues of a new day. The blend of ancient magic and modern turmoil had set the stage for a confrontation that promised to reshape the fate of all involved. With the weight of prophecy pressing upon them, and the promise of an elusive medallion beckoning from the shadows, Siora, Dren, and their allies stepped back into the urban wilderness. The labyrinth of alleys and streets, illuminated by the soft glow of early morning, was both a battleground and a canvas upon which their destiny would be painted. Every heartbeat carried the tension of imminent conflict, and every whispered secret from the journal spurred them onward. The echoes of past betrayals mingled with the promise of a future unbound by ancient chains. Siora's determination, now kindled into a fierce resolve, merged with Dren's warrior spirit and the collective strength of their newfound allies. Together, they would confront the Shadow Organization, unravel the mysteries of the medallion, and ultimately face the ultimate test of their souls, a test that would either shatter the legacy of betrayal or forge a new path toward redemption. As they advanced toward the next chapter of their perilous journey, the balance between hope and despair hung precariously in the air. The medallion, the prophecy, and the choices that lay ahead would determine not only the fate of Siora and Dren but also the destiny of a legacy that spanned generations. In that charged moment, beneath the silent gaze of ancient relics and the emerging light of dawn, every heartbeat, every breath, resonated with the promise of transformation. The secrets that had haunted them for so long were poised to be unraveled, and the true nature of their intertwined destinies awaited its final, cataclysmic unveiling. Thus, as the urban night surrendered to the inevitability of day, the journey continued, a quest fueled by love, driven by redemption, and destined to challenge the very fabric of fate. The legacy of blood, betrayal, and hope intertwined in a dance as old as time, inviting them to step beyond the boundaries of their own limitations and embrace a future yet unwritten. In that timeless interplay of shadow and light, the final choice beckoned, a choice that would either liberate their hearts or forever seal their fate in the annals of history. Beyond the crumbling horizon of doubt Anticipation surged as Seora, Dren, and their band of allies navigated the labyrinth of a long-forgotten industrial district. Crisscrossed by shadowed passageways and scarred by the remnants of past conflicts, every structure bore silent testimony to battles fought and secrets buried. In this stark environment, the stakes of their quest, the elusive medallion and the prophecy that tethered their fates, grew ever more palpable. Their journey had led them to an abandoned factory, its rusted metal and shattered glass offering a skeletal landscape where time itself seemed to have paused. Here, amidst the echoes of machinery long silenced, Seora felt the convergence of ancient power and modern chaos. The factory's cavernous interior was punctuated by shafts of light that sliced through dust and darkness, revealing intricate murals and cryptic symbols scrawled on walls, artifacts of a bygone era that hinted at the legacy of her lineage. Dren moved cautiously through the debris-strewn corridors, every sense on alert. "We must be vigilant," he murmured, his tone low and edged with the gravitas of imminent danger. His eyes scanned every corner, as if the very air might betray the presence of adversaries. Seora, clutching the weathered journal close to her, heart followed his lead, her mind a torrent of fragmented memories and raw emotions. The journal had become her guide, a living chronicle of her ancestors' sacrifices and the promises that had bound them to a destiny neither fully understood. A sudden metallic groan reverberated through the expansive space, freezing them, in a tableau of tension. Cassandra's voice, sharp and determined, broke the silence. "That sound. It isn't just the wind," she whispered, her eyes narrowing as she peered into the murk. Elijah, ever the historian, stepped forward, his fingers trembling as he ran over an inscription on a crumbling wall. "These markings, they speak of a covenant sealed with blood and broken promises. They warn that not all who seek redemption are worthy of its price," he intoned, his voice laden with foreboding. In that charged moment, Orion's earlier warning echoed in their minds. The medallion was more than an artifact. It was a fulcrum on which the balance of power teetered. Seora's thoughts churned with the realization that every step toward the medallion deepened the mystery of her past and the burden of her family's legacy. "What if the sacrifice demanded is more than we can bear?" she asked softly, her voice a mixture of determination and trepidation. Dren's reply was resolute. "Then we choose our fate with open eyes. Every decision we make must be weighed against the cost of our freedom. I refuse to let the sins of the past dictate our future." His declaration resonated deeply, binding the group together in a silent pact of defiance against the ancient forces arrayed against them. The factory, with its maze-like corridors, soon revealed a hidden chamber, a sanctum cloaked in shadows and illuminated by a single, flickering overhead lamp. Here, amid relics of industry and remnants of forgotten rituals, lay a series of murals depicting epic battles, whispered oaths, and the intertwining destinies of two bloodlines. Seora's gaze was inexorably drawn to one particular fresco, a depiction of a woman with an expression of fierce resolve, reaching out as if to shatter invisible bonds. The image was hauntingly familiar, a mirror of the inner strength that she herself had long doubted. "This is it," she breathed, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. "It's a record of every heart that dared to defy destiny." Elijah knelt before the mural, tracing the delicate lines with reverence. "Your ancestors knew that redemption comes at a steep price," he said quietly. "The covenant they formed was not merely an agreement. It was a curse and a blessing, intertwined. Their betrayal, of themselves and those they swore to protect, set in motion a chain of events that we are now entangled in." His words, heavy with the weight of history, underscored the peril of treading too close to truths that might shatter the very fabric of their being. Amid these revelations, a sudden echoing boom shattered the fragile calm. The sound of heavy footsteps and clanging metal resonated from the depths of the factory, growing steadily louder. "They're here!" Cassandra exclaimed, her voice tight with alarm. The hunters, the relentless pursuers who had haunted their every step, had found their trail. The group's faces transformed in an instant, determination mixed with fear, as if they all sensed that the moment of reckoning was at hand. Dren's eyes burned with an intensity that belied the danger. "Scatter and take cover," he commanded, his voice a clarion call that left no room for hesitation. In a fluid motion, he and a few of the shifters melted into the shadows, while the rest of the group braced for an imminent confrontation. Siora's heart pounded in her chest as she gripped the journal, the weight of its revelations suddenly merging with the threat of violence. In the ensuing moments of chaos, the factory transformed into a battleground. Quick, desperate exchanges of words and movement filled the space. Shouts, the scrape of claws against concrete, and the clatter of improvised weapons clashing against cold metal. Siora found herself separated from Dren amid the tumult, her mind racing as she sought to reunite with him. "Dren!" she called out, her voice raw with panic. Her plea was swallowed by the din of conflict, leaving her momentarily isolated in a maelstrom of sound and fury. In the shadows, Dren fought with a ferocity born of centuries of regret and longing. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver, a dance with destiny. As he parried an attack from a masked pursuer, his mind flashed to the prophecy that had bound him to Siora, a bond forged in both passion and pain. "This is for the redemption of all that we have lost," he muttered under his breath, his voice a low growl that carried the weight of innumerable past lives. His determination was palpable, a beacon in the midst of swirling chaos. Elsewhere, in the dark corridors, Siora navigated through the labyrinth of the factory's ruins, her senses alert to every shift in the environment. The journal in her hand suddenly felt heavier, as though it contained not only the secrets of her lineage, but also the very essence of the choice she was destined to make. A sudden rustle nearby sent her heart into overdrive. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice a blend of defiance and fear. In response, a figure emerged from behind a stack of decaying crates, a young man with eyes that flickered with both urgency and empathy. "I'm Caleb," he whispered, extending a hand in a silent plea for trust. "I've been hidden here since they began their hunt. I know these corridors better than anyone. Come with me if you want to survive this." Though uncertainty gnawed at her, Siora recognized in Caleb a spark of hope, a guide through the maze of both physical and emotional peril. "Lead the way," she replied, steeling herself for the unknown. With Caleb's guidance, they maneuvered through narrow passageways and secret tunnels, evading the encroaching threat of their pursuers. Each step was fraught with danger, every shadow a potential ambush, yet Siora felt an unfamiliar surge of resolve. In that moment, she began to understand that her journey was not solely about the medallion or the ancient prophecy. It was about reclaiming her identity and, with it, the power to shape her destiny. Meanwhile, Dren found himself cornered. In a vast open space within the factory, his back pressed against cold, unforgiving concrete. Surrounded by masked assailants whose eyes glinted with ruthless intent, he fought with an intensity that blurred the lines between man and beast. The din of clashing forces and guttural cries formed a grim symphony, underscoring the brutality of the moment. Amid the fray, his thoughts circled back to Siora, a beacon of hope and vulnerability amidst the relentless tide of conflict. "I will find you," he vowed, his voice a defiant roar that reverberated through the cavernous room. "No matter the cost, I will not let them take you from me." Back with Siora and Caleb, the pair reached a hidden exit that opened onto a narrow, winding alley. The cool night air was a stark contrast to the stifling tension inside the factory. Caleb paused, his eyes scanning the dark street. "We need to lose them," he said, urgency threading his tone. "This way." With a determined nod, Siora stepped forward, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts, of family, of betrayal, of the possibility of redemption that shimmered just beyond the horizon. The weight of her choices pressed upon her, each step a silent testament to her newfound resolve. As they navigated the labyrinthine backstreets, the sounds of the confrontation faded into a distant, ominous hum. Siora allowed herself a brief moment to catch her breath, her thoughts swirling around the revelations contained within the journal. The pages hinted at an ultimate sacrifice, a choice that could either sever the chains of her past or bind her irrevocably to a fate wrought with sorrow. "I must understand this legacy," she murmured to herself, eyes fixed on the inked words that chronicled a history of love, loss, and betrayal. Only then can I truly decide who I am meant to be. In a quiet, deserted courtyard illuminated by the pale light of a single street lamp, Seora paused to gather her thoughts. The air was thick with anticipation as she unfolded the next page of the journal, each word a stepping stone on the path toward her destiny. Far off, the distant echoes of the factory's battle served as a grim reminder that the forces aligned against her were relentless and cunning. In that fragile interlude of solitude, her resolve hardened, a fusion of the pain of her past and the promise of a future unbound by ancient curses. Yet, even as hope stirred within her, an overwhelming sense of foreboding crept in. The narrative of her ancestors spoke of a final reckoning, a moment when the medallion's power would be unleashed in a surge of redemption or ruin. Seora's heart pounded as she realized that the choice she was about to make might not only decide her own fate but also that of everyone bound by the prophecy. Her inner turmoil was interrupted by a soft yet insistent voice from behind. "Seora," it called, echoing through the silent courtyard. Turning sharply, she found herself face to face with a familiar figure, the piercing gaze of Dren, streaked with determination and desperation. His presence was a jolt of reality in the midst of her internal storm. "I've come for you," he declared, his tone both tender and commanding. "The path ahead is fraught with peril, but together, we might yet defy the destiny that seeks to claim us." His words carried the weight of countless unspoken promises and the urgent need to confront the demons of their past head-on. Before Seora could respond, the ground trembled as a distant, thunderous sound rolled through the city, a portent of the final confrontation looming on the horizon. In that suspended moment, caught between hope and despair, the forces of fate gathered, ready to unleash the final act of an ancient drama that would challenge everything they believed about love, betrayal, and redemption. As the tremor subsided into a silence that felt as heavy as a prelude to war, the eyes of both allies and adversaries glinted in the dim light. Every heartbeat pulsed with the promise of an imminent clash, a culmination of secrets, sacrifices, and the inexorable pull of destiny. With the medallion's true power and the weight of the prophecy pressing in around them, the line between salvation and destruction blurred into a single, defining moment. Caleb's whispered warning, Dren's determined vow, and Seora's resolve converged in that fleeting second. The night, once a silent witness to their struggles, now brimmed with the electricity of an imminent cataclysm. As they stood together on the precipice of a choice that would reshape their lives and the very fabric of their world, the final question hung in the air, a question that would soon demand an answer. Would their hearts, scarred yet resilient, be strong enough to defy the destiny that had haunted them for generations? Unexpectedly, as the horizon blushed with the first intimations of dawn, the air around Seora, Dren, and their allies thickened with an almost tangible intensity. The remnants of conflict and whispered prophecies coalesced into a moment that promised final answers and irrevocable choices. In the quiet before the storm of their ultimate confrontation, every heartbeat reverberated with the urgency of untold secrets and a destiny that could no longer be deferred. They had reached the outskirts of an ancient estate, once a proud mansion now cloaked in time's neglect, nestled at the edge of the urban sprawl. Ivy-choked walls and fractured stained glass windows bore silent testimony to a bygone era of splendor and hidden agonies. It was here, in the midst of crumbling grandeur, that the final chapter of their tumultuous journey would unfold. Inside the mansion's vast foyer, where dust motes danced in the early light, the group gathered in a tense circle. Dren's eyes, filled with a mix of determination and remorse, swept over the faces of his companions, each bearing the marks of hardship and unspoken sacrifices. Seora's grip on the ancient journal tightened as she recalled every painful, yet necessary revelation etched within its pages. Tonight, the weight of her family's legacy, the scars of betrayal, and the promise of redemption would all converge. A sudden, resonant knock echoed through the cavernous hall, halting their anxious murmurs. The sound, deliberate and measured, signaled the arrival of someone who had long been entwined with the prophecy. From the shadows emerged a figure whose presence radiated an unsettling familiarity. It was Mara, the enigmatic guardian of lost lore, but her countenance bore an unexpected twist. A sorrow intermingled with defiance, as if burdened by revelations too heavy to bear in silence. "Mara!" Siora breathed, a tremor of uncertainty in her voice. "What truths do you bring now?" Mara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears and an ancient wisdom that transcended mortal comprehension. "I come bearing revelations that will alter everything you believe about this curse and the destiny that binds you. The medallion you seek has been in our midst for far longer than any of us imagined, and its true keeper is not an enemy, but someone close to your heart." A collective murmur rippled through the assembled group, their expressions a blend of shock and disbelief. Dren stepped forward, his tone both cautious and resolute. "Explain yourself, Mara. Our journey has been long and riddled with betrayal. We need to know if our sacrifices have been for naught." With a steadying breath, Mara recounted a secret hidden deep within the estate's archives, a secret that spanned generations and shattered long-held illusions. "Your bloodline, Siora, is not merely linked to the prophecy. It is its origin. Your ancestors forged a covenant with powers beyond our understanding, and in doing so, they entrusted the medallion to someone they believed would one day restore balance. That person is your long-lost father." The declaration struck Siora like a thunderbolt. Her mind raced back to the fragmented memories of a childhood filled with whispered half-truths and the lingering absence of a paternal figure. "Father?" she repeated in disbelief, her voice trembling. "But he died when I was young, or so I was told." Mara's expression softened, yet her eyes held a gravity that silenced any further protest. "The story you were given was but a facade, a protective lie spun to shield you from the dangerous truths of your lineage. Your father sacrificed his mortal life to bind a darkness that threatened our kind, but his soul was ensnared in the very curse he fought against. The medallion is the key to freeing him, and, in doing so, ending the cycle of betrayal that has plagued both our families." Dren's brow furrowed as he absorbed the revelation, his inner conflict evident. "So you're saying that the enemy we've been fighting, the Shadow Organization, the Hunters, they are merely pawns in a far greater game? And that our true battle is to liberate your father's soul, Siora?" Siora's thoughts spun, in a whirlwind of anguish and resolve. The journal's cryptic passages, the mysterious relics, the whispered warnings, all of it now converged into a singular shattering truth. "If this is true," she murmured, "then the medallion isn't just an artifact of power. It's a prison, a link to a past we must mend if we are ever to claim our future." In the hush that followed, Mara produced from within her cloak a small, intricately carved box. With deliberate care, she opened it to reveal a shimmering medallion, its surface etched with symbols that pulsed with an inner light. "This medallion," she intoned, "was crafted by your ancestors with both love and sorrow. It holds the power to unbind the curse that has haunted your family, but its use comes at a cost. The one who wields it must be willing to sacrifice everything, be it pride, hope, or even the essence of their own soul." A heavy silence settled over the room, as each member contemplated the gravity of Mara's words. Dren's gaze fell to the medallion, his mind a tempest of memories, battles fought, lives lost, and the relentless pursuit of redemption. "How do we break the curse?" he asked quietly, as if the answer might already be etched in the lines of his weathered face. Mara's eyes locked with Siora's, brimming with a sorrowful empathy that transcended time. "The curse can only be undone by facing the darkest truths of your past and embracing the love that has always been your greatest strength. You must confront the betrayal that split your family, the secrets that left scars in your heart, and in doing so, free not only your father's spirit but also your own." At that moment, a sudden tremor shook the ancient estate, as if the very foundations were recoiling from the unveiling of such profound secrets. The ground beneath them quaked, and the sound of crumbling stone mingled with panicked shouts from beyond the mansion's walls. The hunters had arrived, their relentless pursuit now reaching a fevered pitch. Without waiting for another word, Dren barked out orders. "We must secure the estate and prepare for their assault. Mara, stay with Siora. Caleb, lead the others to fortify the perimeter." His voice was a blend of urgency and steely resolve, each word a command honed by years of conflict and sacrifice. As the group dispersed into the labyrinthine corridors of the mansion, Siora and Mara retreated to a secluded chamber deep within the estate's bowels. The room, adorned with faded portraits and relics of a once magnificent heritage, exuded an air of melancholy and latent power. There, Siora unfolded the ancient journal one last time, her fingers trembling as she traced the symbols that chronicled her family's legacy. "I always believed I was cursed by fate," she whispered, eyes brimming with tears that shone with both sorrow and newfound determination. "But maybe, just maybe, fate has given me a chance to set things right." Mara approached, her voice gentle but insistent. "The key lies within your heart, Siora. To free your father and yourself, you must confront every hidden wound, every betrayal that has ever scarred you. Only by embracing the totality of your past can you unlock the medallion's true power." At that moment, the sound of battle erupted outside. Distant clashes, the rumble of footsteps, and the anguished cries of those locked in combat formed a grim symphony that underscored the stakes of their mission. Yet within the chamber, time seemed to slow, allowing Siora a brief moment of introspection. In the reflection of a shattered mirror, she saw not a broken child defined by loss, but a warrior poised to reclaim her destiny. A sudden flash of light and a surge of energy emanated from the medallion as Siora cradled it close. The symbols on its surface flared, and a spectral image began to materialize, a visage both regal and sorrowful, framed by an ethereal glow. In that ephemeral moment, Siora recognized the face of her father, his eyes filled with a plea for forgiveness and a hope for redemption. "My daughter," the apparition intoned, its voice resonant and echoing through the chamber. "You have come to the crossroad of our fate. I have long been imprisoned by the choices of the past, but your love can set me free." Overwhelmed by emotion, Siora's tears fell freely as she reached out toward the spectral figure. "I forgive you," she whispered, her voice both fragile and unwavering. "I understand now that our pain was never meant to define us. Instead, it was a lesson, a path that leads to healing, to unity." The medallion's glow intensified, its light enveloping Siora and cascading over the room in a cascade of shimmering luminescence. Outside, the clamor of combat reached a crescendo. Dren fought with renewed vigor, his every strike echoing the promise of a future unburdened by ancient curses. In the mansion's grand hall, allies repelled the invaders with a ferocity born of desperation and hope. The hunters, realizing that their moment of triumph was slipping away, faltered as the tide of destiny turned against them. Within the secluded chamber, the medallion's power surged, and the spectral image of Siora's father smiled, a sad, yet liberating smile that spoke of long-awaited redemption. "Your sacrifice has unlocked the bond that held us captive," his voice declared. "Now the curse is lifted, and our souls may finally find peace." As the medallion's brilliance reached its zenith, the spectral figure dissolved into a cascade of light, drifting upward as if ascending to realms beyond. Mortal grasp. In that instant, a profound transformation rippled through the estate. The oppressive weight of the curse, the legacy of betrayal, and the shadows of the past seemed to dissolve into the early morning light. The hunters, disoriented by the sudden surge of power and the collapse of their dark designs, retreated into the night, their threat vanishing like a dissipating nightmare. When Siora emerged from the chamber, her eyes shone with a clarity and strength that belied the hardships she had endured. Dren, approaching with cautious relief and an unspoken vow of protection, embraced her, their connection now transcending the mortal realm. "We did it," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "Your courage has rewritten our fate." Across the estate, the remaining allies gathered, their faces a blend of disbelief and joy as the first light of dawn bathed the ancient walls. The mansion, once a somber relic of lost glory, now pulsed with the promise of renewal, a symbol that even the deepest wounds could be healed by the unyielding power of love and forgiveness. As the sun rose higher, dispelling the lingering shadows of night, Siora and Dren stood side by side on a crumbling balcony overlooking the reborn estate. Their journey, marked by heartache, betrayal, and countless sacrifices, had led them to this singular moment of triumph. The secrets that had once tormented their souls were now threads in the tapestry of a new beginning, a future shaped not by the inevitability of destiny, but by the choices made in the crucible of adversity, in the quiet aftermath of the final battle. As the echoes of conflict faded into a gentle stillness, Siora's thoughts turned inward. Redemption isn't about erasing the past, she reflected softly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. It's about finding the strength to forgive, to love, and to build a future where the wounds of yesterday can heal into hope for tomorrow. Her words, spoken with a conviction born of hard-won wisdom, resonated with every soul present. Dren squeezed her hand, his eyes conveying a silent promise that their journey was far from over, yet that the scars of their past had paved the way for a destiny reimagined, a destiny where every heart, no matter how scarred, could soar free. In that profound silence, amidst the ruins and the rebirth, the legacy of their trials was transformed into a beacon of possibility, a luminous testament to the power of resilience and the endless capacity for change. As the day unfolded and the first full rays of sunlight crowned the estate, the group dispersed with quiet determination, each member carrying a renewed sense of purpose. The curse that had bound generations was broken, its remnants scattered like ashes in the wind. And for Siora, the journey toward self-discovery had reached its most transcendent moment, a moment when love had not only redeemed the past, but had also sown the seeds for a future unchained by sorrow. In that final breathtaking moment, as the mansion bathed in the golden glow of a new dawn, and the promise of healing shimmered on every face, the boundaries between myth and reality blurred. The story of Siora and Dren, once marred by betrayal and haunted by ancient curses, now glowed with the incandescent light of hope, a hope that would guide them, and all who dared to dream, toward a destiny defined by true, unyielding transcendence.